Hi, y'all. How are you? Also, I realize that's super loud, which is kind of crazy. All right. So we are going to get right into it. Let me know if you can hear me. I know we always take a second because it's always slow. It's always slow. Okay. So let me go ahead and okay. Let me know if you can hear me, and we are going to go ahead and start the live. So yes, today we're going to talk about the insurrection, specifically. I'm on the wrong one. Hold on. Present. This the right one? Okay, there we go. Hi, Boo. And Jace will be our moderator today. If you ask me to be moderator, I'm trying to add all of you. Certain people wouldn't let me add for some reason. So Sapphire Prince is going to add you later. But yes, so Jace will be moderating. So if you act up, that's going to be that. But yes, we are going to talk about these insurrection riots because they are currently, a few days ago, they did the investigation and they had the insurrection hearings. And you know what? I feel like people are a little bit too quiet about it. So we're going to talk about that, which we've talked about on the channel before. And we are going to talk about these arrests that are apparently still taking place, even though they could have all just got arrested there on the spot. I have no idea why. And oh, yes, type effectiveness, child. I heard that. I can see you, Shemaya. It's working. Okay, good. I had accidentally tried to block a troll and then block Shemaya, so I have finally fixed it, girl. Yes. All right. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Oregon, too, because apparently in Oregon, they are also acting a fool. A little Patreon preview. And then we're going to talk about Hobby Lobby, because I found something very interesting, which Hobby Lobby owns a museum. Did y'all know this? Called the Bible Museum. Yes, in DC, a huge museum. And Hobby Lobby has had to return over 10,000 artifacts that they didn't really know. They alleged they didn't know where they came from. And the government was like, well, it's stolen, so give it back. Yeah, so we're going to get into that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, Nezuko. How are you? Awesome. So let's get into this. So way back when, we talked about the Capitol riots. This has nothing to do with Khloe Kardashian, but the video was about the Capitol riots lawsuits, which they're not riots, the insurrection. There was a lawsuit by two Capitol police officers, and they sued Donald Trump for the insurrection. And we happen to also talk about Khloe Kardashian, so that's why you see her face. So I'm going to play you a little clip from this really quick, and then we're going to get into it. So back to Trump and his tweets. So he made this tweet, saying, see, a great report by Peter, statistically impossible to have lost in the 2020 election. Big protests in DC on January 6th. Be there, will be wild. What is this, a rave? Anyways, continuing on, paragraph 28. So Trump's December 19th tweet about the January 6th rally was taken by many of his supporters as a literal call to arms. For example, within minutes of Trump posting this tweet, it was shared on pro-Trump website called the Donald.win. What an odd website. With the title, Trump tweet, Daddy says, be in DC on January 6th. Yes. So I don't know why they were calling that man Daddy. It was very odd. But yes, two of the Capitol Police then sued Trump for inciting the insurrection. This is back in April. So we covered this back in April if you want to see that video of the lawsuit, which that detailed all of it. Yes, that was all of our reaction, Daddy, that's none of my business. But a lot of these people are very anti that behavior. So I found it very odd for an alleged straight cishet man to be calling Trump Daddy. But that's not my business. So yes. So you can watch that one. And basically the reason why I'm bringing that one up now is because that is still going on. And yes, I am late and I do owe you the Trump versus big tech lawsuit. I started it until I realized that the 3 lawsuits he filed are all the same thing, which I knew. And they're all, to be honest, the most foolish thing. But we're going to do that probably tomorrow. So I'm halfway through that outline. So with that, let's get on to the next part. Oh, hold on. Okay, here we go. And then these were the tweets by, the wig himself, in which he basically incited people. So we're all waiting for the DOJ to bring charges against him, which hasn't happened yet. But people have brought lawsuits against Trump for this behavior. So just in case. So the big protest rally in Washington, D.C. will take place at 11 a.m. on January 6th. Location details to follow. Stop the steal. A big part of the hearing was detailing what Trump said, what his followers did, etc., because polls have been done since the insurrection that 50% of Republicans are downplaying the impact of the insurrection, have basically said, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's not that serious, which we need to call BS where there's BS to be had, because that's not true and that makes no sense. So and why the hearings, it took them 6 months to have them, shame on them for that. All right. Okay. So this man decided that he was going to act a fool. He is seen here. He is a QAnon, what do you call them, supporter, QAnon hype man. He is participating in insurrection. Here he is getting caught showing off his thug tattoo. Here he is getting caught by the DOJ. In June, 6 months after this foolish man decided to do all of these things, then he finally got arrested. In between January, when he committed these crimes, and June, when he got arrested, this man went all the way to Mexico, hid around, did all of these things. And my only question is, why is the DOJ taking as long as I am to pay off my student loans to arrest these people? They could have just arrested all of them while they were literally storming the Capitol. They let all of these people walk home when they're all on camera, all being recorded, all doing these things that we all saw. Which would lead me to believe that our, justice system doesn't really care about justice. But hey, that's a talk for another day. All right, so to the next part. So trigger warning to this, I wanted to show a clip of one of the Capitol Police officers, his testimony. I think it's really important to hear it from their own words. In April, when we went over the lawsuit, I read out some of it. It was very hard to read. In this, to be honest, I did not. We all know why. It's because it's white people. That's why. That is the reason. What was the reason Cardi B voice? The reason is because it's white people. If this was black people, we would have all got arrested at best. At best. The minute we even looked at the Capitol. Let's call a spade a spade. So you already know how I feel about, certain words in my personal language, and I don't use them. However, I think it's important because in Jamaica, we have a saying, if you know listening, you must feel. And people really want to think that America is some post-racial world, post-racial America, as Kamala, for some reason, felt the need to say on national television that America is not racist, which is a damn lie. But, that's what she wanted to do it herself at that time. People all of a sudden have an uprising to critical race theory, a theory which most Americans, A, have no concept of, and B, did not know existed until last year. So with that, I'm going to play this full clip. So trigger warning to the racist language that is about to be repeated in this clip. Okay.
It's the day.
Hold on. That's just a yelling white man. He's not saying racist language, just inciting people. All right. Can you see it? I think maybe you'll see it better if I do it this way. So let me do it this way.
I'm a law enforcement officer.
Okay, hold on. Okay, here you go. So let's.
I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded. Well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody? That prompted a torrent of racial epithets. One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This nigger voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo, fucking nigger." No one had ever called me a nigger while wearing the uniform of a Capitol Police officer. In the days following the attempted insurrection, other black officers shared with me their own stories of racial abuse on January 6th. One officer told me he had never, and in his entire 40 years of life, been called a nigger to his face, and that streak ended on January 6th. Yet another black officer later told me he had been confronted by insurrectionists in the Capitol who told him, "Put your gun down and we'll show you what kind of nigga you really are."
So, again, my apologies for the language. I think it's important for people to know because people seem to think it's a game. Y'all are upset all the time. It's just, oh, weird. I don't act like that. Y'all don't act like. I see a lot of women, a lot of white women being like, oh, white men, this need to do better. What did he say? Who did he say yelled at him first? A white woman in a MAGA shirt. I saw plenty of white women at the insurrection, which they attended. People need to have accountability. None of this will change unless these people actually get arrested until hold on, I forgot his name. Lord, y'all know I cannot see that. Hold on. hold on. My eyesight is just getting better and better with age. Officer Harry Dunn. Officer Harry Dunn shouldn't have to be having to deal with this at work. Also, I think it's important to notice when you listen to his testimony, the testimony of other police officers, he said, and quote, "I have never been called that word while in this uniform." As in, during his lifetime, he has been called that word. But the uniform, he felt, oh, well, it'll shield me from people calling me that when I'm in this uniform. Newsflash, at 30 years old, I have been called that word. Somebody else said, the other black officer said, I have never been called that word to my face. Newsflash, white people are yelling the N-word at black people and have been. We are not in post-racial anything. Exactly. And to Nezuko's point, mind you, these are just civil servants with families mobbed by misguided foolishness. Misguided foolishness, privilege, and to be honest, unmitigated gall of certain people in this country. Unchecked, unmitigated gall. And this is a good point from Shoshana. What if he had, which is in his right as a police officer that is being threatened, pulled out his gun and started shooting? What would have happened? There were people in the Capitol with guns. Like, are we not going to talk about that there were insurrectionists in the Capitol with guns? This man should have been the first one to get arrested. This man is walking around in the rotunda with a Confederate flag. Sir, why are you so attached to this sad little flag of this sad little Confederacy that lasted for 4 years, boo? 4 years. Sad. And to this point, yet liberals see no color. We're going to get into one of these. This person is obviously that we're going to talk about is a Republican, but we're going to get into something that I found very interesting in doing my research on the type of people that were attending this, because there also is a misguided thought that these are just poor white people who have been led astray. Some of these people are not poor. A lot of these people are not poor. Exactly. All right. So I'm going through some of your comments. And thank you guys for tuning in. I know this is not like the happiest thing to talk about, but don't worry. We're going to talk about stolen artifacts, which shouldn't be happy either, but y'all, we're going to find some jokes in the colonizing nonsense. Okay. Exactly. There are also videos of people in Nancy Pelosi's office rummaging through her things. That's stealing national security. Like, none of these people should have walked home, but they all walked home, which is why now we're trying to round them up. You didn't need to round them up. They were all standing right there. Okay. Also, it's like raining here, so it might be a little loud. Okay. So speaking of, there is a giant misconception, which I'm trying out new things. There is a giant misconception. I'm like, where's my face? That the people that voted for Trump and the people that have turned into like QAnon supporters and the people that have decided to participate in this insurrection are just poor white people. That is not true. That is factually incorrect. So to Jared's point, these are owners, hiring managers, and supervisors. One of the people at the insurrection was the owner, is the co-owner and former CEO of Rouses. Rouses is basically the Publix of Louisiana. It is a very nice grocery store. When I was in law school, because I did my first year at Loyola, I used to go to Rouses. We're going to talk about him specifically because this is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous. So this is Harvard. I didn't put the link, but I'm going to put the link from the Crimson Tide to this article. It's very interesting. Intellectual media. Is it Intellectual Media? It's like one of my favorite YouTube channels. She sends out a reading list. If you're on her Patreon, this was on her reading list. It was a great article, which basically talked about Harvard and a lot of the elite institutions in America and their ties to the Klan. So this is a picture of Harvard Klan members at Harvard. They are at Harvard. That is a statue that's still at Harvard in 1924. In the open, in their robes. Hi, Natalia, taking pictures, doing what Klan members do. There are plenty of rich white people that support the racist rhetoric of Donald Trump, racist rhetoric of QAnon, racist rhetoric in general. This idea that poor white people have been led astray, correct. Yes, poor white people would be better off voting for Democrats because they will never benefit from the tax breaks of being a rich Republican. Having that argument with them is a different story. And yes, somebody should have it with them. Me and my black self, child, my blood pressure is already too high. However, this idea that, rich white people by going to college have now been socialized to black people and socialized to understanding that racism is wrong is not true. Is not true. And specifically, I wanted to tell a little story time of something I experienced when I worked back in the day at that talent agency, which the number one employees at that talent agency were entitled rich children, rich white children, because that's only people that can afford to make $30,000 a year. So I had this coworker who I thought was my friend, right? Friend child. Sat next to me every day, lovely young white man. This is like my buddy. We eat lunch, whatever. He had a birthday party. Invites me. There were only literally, because we're still all friends, 6 black people in that workplace that took up 4 floors. Okay. Invites we, the 6 blacks, and then the rest of his other lovely coworkers. Oh, here comes Chelsea. Yeah, I'm going to tell about this damn story. So Chelsea was there, invites us to his birthday. Of course, this is our buddy. We're going to his house. Background on this person. This person is rich. Person is well off, grew up in a well-off part of New York. It's a lovely person, went to a good school. This person is coming from money. Somebody sensible, right? Okay, somebody sensible. You think, this is my friend. We're at work. Like, I've been knowing you a long time. We're at work. Child, this is 2017 after, right? This is 2017. It was winter. Yep, after Trump had just won. Like, we've been used to him now a little bit, unfortunately. We get to the party. I bring Gabriel. Gabriel's my boyfriend. Gabriel is 6'2", is a big black man. Okay. For context as to what is about to happen. The party is, I don't remember exactly where it was, but like in some like decent neighborhood, this huge apartment. I'm talking like huge. Like, the apartment must have been very expensive. So we go to the party. Obviously, black kids is always together. Me, Chelsea, 2017. It's me, Chelsea, and Gabriel walking together. We bring this man a gift. This is our work friend. Okay. We walk in. Everything is fine. I see a bunch of other white people that I don't know. That's fine. The ones I know will come in. I'm sociable. Everything is fine. I start looking. Chelsea goes, Stephanie, look around. I said, what? I started looking around. What do I see everywhere in this huge, expensive apartment in New York City? MAGA hat on the tree, picture of when Donald Trump won, framed on in Greenwich. I think it was in Greenwich, which, by the way, Greenwich is very expensive, and he doesn't live there. So it's not like I'm telling his business. And if by the end of the story, screw that man. MAGA everything unnecessarily, and on the tree, I mean like it was a Christmas tree. MAGA everywhere. And I was like, what the hell is this? How the hell did my unassuming black self end up at this mug? Like, what? We're just here for a coworker's birthday. So I'm sitting there confused. And I'm like, oh no, we got to go. Like, I'm going to give this man his gift and then go. There were numerous white women. The minute that we walked in, young white women. This is like when I had like just graduated law school. I couldn't have been I was 26 at the time. Like, shock face. Like, the minute we walked in, like, oh no, I have been seen. I have been outed that I too am a MAGA supporting racist. Like, that was the look on their face. They were like, oh no, the blacks see me and they're going to realize that I too am awful. To which they then started coming up and apologizing and be like, I didn't even know this was here. And I was like, girl, I don't know you. And I don't believe you now. My coworker, Chelsea and I's white coworker, who was a woman, then came up and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I mean, he told me that his friend was this way just to warn me. And he told me it would be like a little bit of stuff, but like, I didn't think it would be this bad." So now I took offense. I was like, wait, you knew that your friend is a huge, multiple friends are huge MAGA supporters, and you thought you would invite your 4 Black coworkers into this unsafe space. And the reason why I'm saying it's an unsafe space, the little MAGA children, because only children and racists do these things, came out of their rooms wearing full-on MAGA clothes. So I was like, did you tell them that you invited your 4 Black coworkers? I'm confused as to what's happening. You know, when you go somewhere and men want to like pick a fight, they then try to like get like super close to Gabriel, like, you know, trying to intimidate somebody. Boo boo, you 5'4". My man is 6'2". What do you think this is gonna do? What? But it's the uncomfortable, like, oh, you're trying to get a rise out of somebody that, you know, like there's obviously way more of you. So the minute I was like, okay, we're gonna wait on our other friend and tell him like, hey, we're all leaving because I refuse to stay here and with these people. This is unsafe. Our friend, who was way too nice for his own good, also a Black man, they asked him to take a picture. Can you take a picture of us by the tree? And I was like, don't take their damn picture, these evil ass people with their MAGA everything. He takes a picture of them. Instead of saying cheese, you know what these fools said? They yelled, build the wall. I said, oh no, we got to go. I was like, we have to go because I will burn all of this down. And this is not it. Our coworker, who now I'm like, oh, we're not friends because you warned the white woman that it would be like this. You told them that like, oh, my good friend from high school like has this big apartment. So that's the only reason why we're using it. I, of course, don't feel that way. I, of course, am not a MAGA supporter. Sir, I don't believe you. It's profusely apologizing. We're like running, like leaving, like left. The next day at work, why did this man, we sit next to each other. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I didn't like, and Gabriel should have punched them in the face. That was his comment. So I literally looked him dead in his eye and I was like, if Gabriel punched them in the face, what do you think would have happened? We would have got A, probably hung from these high ass ceilings that Chelsea's talking about. That was the first thing I looked up. I said, we have to leave. Or B, they would have called the police, and who would have gotten in trouble? The 4 Negroes in this expensive ass apartment that we do not belong in. Oh, I didn't really see it that way. And so then I told him, I was like, you didn't see it that way because your privilege doesn't care about others. However, I don't believe you because you told the white woman that we work with, hey, my friend is a little but you know, I don't feel that way. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell your Black friends, your friends? Oh, well, I didn't want you to not come. Fool, I don't want to come. I don't want to be in a place where I'm upset and I'm unsafe. That man then proceeded to buy me an expensive bottle of wine. Expensive. And yes, I'm not going to lie. I did take that expensive bottle of wine. I never talked to him again. He couldn't buy Chelsea wine because Chelsea don't drink. So that made me laugh. He was like, well, what do you think I should get Chelsea? And I was like, I don't really think gifts are going to fix the problem. However, I have no problem taking the gift because I don't give a damn. So yes, in 2017. So to the whole moral of this giant ass story, we need to stop assuming that because somebody is college educated, all of a sudden their racism has left their body. It has not. It has not. It has not. I did take that wine. I took that wine and me and grandma had some of it and it was great. So to that point, we are now going to talk about the CEO of Rouses, another rich person that I found very interesting that he decided that he was going to pop up at the insurrection along with, guess who? His head of HR, his former head of HR, Tweedledee and Tweedledum went to that insurrection. What do you mean? What do you mean? To then which people, after this was blasted all for social media, boycotted Rouses, as they should, because why should you go somewhere where the main clientele of Rouses is Black people in Louisiana? I will say it again. When I lived in Louisiana, I used to go to Rouses. It was a great grocery store, great crawfish. Would I ever give them my money ever again? No. So after about the end of January, he finally came out and he had some words to say about his actions. So we're going to see what he had to say for himself. Hold on, because now I gotta resituate this. One sec. Stop screen. Okay, share screen. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Can y'all see him? So yes, he's retired, but he's still the co-owner. So like them saying retired doesn't matter to me. You still own it, Donald.
Sure.
Okay.
At Dr. King High School, we think our students should be well-rounded, both in and out of the classroom. Our students can get ahead with certification programs in A+, IT fundamentals, and patient care. From band to basketball, our extracurricular activities can push them even further, molding them into African Americans and worked with African Americans all of my life. It's an insult to me to think that I would not appreciate the African American community.
Donald Rouse Sr. is breaking his silence after calls for people to boycott Rouse's supermarkets. It all stems from his attendance at the rally for former President Donald Trump before the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for watching. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Karen Swenson.
Thank you, Katie and Karen. I don't know how long that is, so we're not going to play it. Basically, after everybody boycotted Rouse's, Donald then decided to apologize, said he didn't know. He'd never seen of an insurrection, never heard of an insurrection, doesn't know what that means. He thought he was trying. He said he has many Black friends. He has worked with many Black people his whole life. He then proceeded to get one of the heads of the NAACP in Louisiana to make a statement for him that he apparently, for 20 years, this Donald of Rouse's has been a member of the NAACP. Sir, how you been an NAACP member, but you voted for Trump? How have been an NAACP member for 20 years, 2 decades, and you attended what you thought was a riot for a man that literally refers to Black people as my African American, like we still belong in slavery? I have a question. He further then went on, I have given numerous scholarships to African Americans. Sir, so because you're given scholarships, allegedly, how much are these scholarships for? And because you employ a lot of Black people, it's okay for you and the head of literal HR, the former head, to go and roll up into what you claim you did not know was insurrection. When asked, Donald, shouldn't you have left when you saw the Confederate flags? Donald said there was not nary a Confederate flag around him. He never seen it, never heard of it, and he didn't see a Confederate flag or a hood. Sir, it's giving lie. It's giving I don't believe you. It's giving do you think all of us are stupid? It also took him nearly a month to say these things. Profits must have been very low, very low. Exactly to Brianna's point. Scholarships are a tax benefit. I'm sure his NAACP membership is also a tax benefit as well, child. Oh, and to Jonathan, all them Rouses are racist. They treat people horribly. Hey, I would like to hear from a Rouses employee, because I don't believe that if I worked at a place and I saw my former head of HR attending a damn insurrection, I'd be like, well, damn, well, I guess I can't complain about anything here. Like, what? What are you talking about? What did you think you were attending? This was publicized by Donald Trump numerous times for months in advance. So again, we have to stop letting rich white people participate in racism silently. If you're going to participate in racism, we are going to call you out, because this is foolishness. This is completely foolishness. Oh, yep. Listen. And the problem is, like, these large, or there's a fly in here, don't worry about it. These large organizations, like, what would it benefit the NAACP to then say, oh, he's been a dues paying member for 20 years. He also attended an insurrection. I don't give a damn about his dues. What? He was fine. Oh my God. Y'all, see. This is why I can't leave my windows open. It's raining. He also attended an insurrection where, as we just saw, they're yelling the N-word at police officers and Black people. But he didn't see it. He didn't hear it. Nothing. To Aiko's point, he was attending a shindig. Yes, a ruckus one where they broke in, entered, somebody died. Ciao. And someone said earlier that the next person we're going to play is their state representative. And to that, I'm sorry that he's your state representative. So to add another rich white man who karma is getting him, and I think it's very funny. So we're going to go on to the next. So U.S. Justice Department won't defend Republican lawmaker in Capitol riot lawsuit. So for context, this Alabama congressional native who is from Charleston, South Carolina. I have questions as to his family history and roots. Anybody, specifically white people, from Charleston, South Carolina, I will ask that question too, because I think it's completely asinine that in America we don't talk about like who the former enslavers are. Like those people disappeared. They didn't disappear. That's not how reality works. All right. So Mo Brooks, that's his name. So Mo Brooks basically is being sued by a Democratic representative for his actions. We're going to show like what he was yelling and raving about in the insurrection. And he basically asked the Justice Department to cover him and was like, hey, can you cover me in this lawsuit? Because basically I am a federal employee and I'm just doing my job. So therefore, under the Westfall Act, I shouldn't be, party to a civil suit because thank you, kid. I've been saying this all the time. They're on Southern Charm with Black people's money. That's what they're on. I shouldn't be party to this lawsuit, and these people shouldn't take my hard-earned money. He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose this lawsuit, and he's going to have to pay, and we're all going to get a good laugh on his expense. So let's look at this really quick. So basically, the DOJ looked at this and said, okay, are your statements, is this something you're doing while you're at work? Is this you acting in your work capacity as a congressional representative? So let me know if this is congressional behavior.
American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
The lawsuit against Brooks was brought by Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Sir, taking down names and kicking ass. Also, I don't think that's the whole thing. So hold on, let me add it again. I think I missed a part. Hold on, now I gotta reshare the screen. Okay, share screen. Chrome tab, first one. But yes, that doesn't sound very congressional-like to me, but hey. Is that the right one? That's not the right one. Let's do it up. Okay.
Capital.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
The lawsuit against Brooks was brought by Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell.
So yes. Yeah, he's gonna lose that lawsuit. He's gonna lose that lawsuit.
At Dr. King High School, we think our students should be well-rounded, both in and out of the.
I have like too many tabs open. So yes, so basically, Mo, honey, you have more problems. And the DOJ said, and quote specifically, let me remove that. Inciting or conspiring to foment a violent attack on the United States Congress is not within the scope of employment of a representative or any federal employee, and thus is not the sort of conduct for which the United States is properly substituted as a defendant under the Westfall Act. So they said, use your own money, Mo, and defend yourself. And if you have to pay up, because us, the taxpayers, are not paying for it. The hubris of this man to say, hey, DOJ, can you use the taxpayers' money because I decided to incite riots and incite crazy people and people died. People died. And, I don't want responsibility for my actions. What? No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Always surprised. I've learned and realized through YouTube, which I find very interesting, like even when I block some people will come back and I block them again. They say, I have free speech. Boo-boo the fool. You have free speech to say what you want. You don't have freedom from consequences. People don't have to deal with your bullshit. That's fine. This is a good point. The congressional benefits package is something else. I can barely get mental health coverage. All that good coverage, and he couldn't choose it to get a good therapist to channel out his white anger. Interesting. It's a type effectiveness problem, but Antifa is the problem. Last time I checked, Antifa wasn't storming buildings and killing people and causing deaths. But hey, hello. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I think I'm on. Am I on the right one? Okay.
Capital.
Today is the day American
Stop
patriots.
playing this. Okay. So it wasn't just apparently in the Capitol where people wanted to act a fool in December, which I don't think like in New York, they really broadcasted it widely. I remember hearing about it that, protesting, they like to call them protesting, which I'm like, you're not protesting if you're going into places with guns. Dangerous white Republicans, call a spade, stormed the Oregon State Capitol with guns and occupied the Oregon State Capitol. Do y'all remember this? And just acted a plumb fool. So this state lawmaker, however, decided to open the door for these people. Like, these are his friends. These people who came in with literal pepper spray and rifles, he just opened the door. So he then got charged for some odd reason only with 2 misdemeanors after he tried to have the person who took the video of him fired. Sir, you are over here committing crimes and you worried about who's telling on you? But okay. So basically, he didn't apologize. He basically said, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so I don't really understand what y'all are mad about. Like, I held the door, but like, so what's wrong with that? You're letting people in with guns and mace into a place to cause harm to other people. Like, I'm very confused. And then when asked why did he plead guilty if he feels like he did nothing wrong, his response was, oh, my legal fees were getting very expensive. This man got caught. Look at his charges. His last name is Neerman. Charged with 2 misdemeanors, 1st-degree official misconduct, and 2nd-degree criminal trespass. That's all he got charged with. I think the crimes are not really fitting the charges. First and foremost. Listen, exactly. Getaway drivers have gotten more for less. So basically, he is an accomplice. He's a co-conspirator. So whatever crimes they committed, he should have gotten charged with co-conspiracy as well. I don't know why he's getting away with it and then being like, oh, well, whatever. I don't care. Misdemeanors. All right, so enough of the rough stuff. Oh, is this? Hold on, let me update this. That's not next. Is that?
Capital.
Today.
Okay. Is that next? Oh, that's not supposed to be next. Okay, we're going to talk about Hobby Lobby in 1 second because I think this is very interesting. And before we talk about Hobby Lobby, I wanted to plug my Patreon really quick because I realized this whole time I've been wanting to show you guys a snippet and I haven't able to show you a snippet. So I just posted Colonizer Exposed USA Part 2. So I was going to show you a really quick snippet and then we're going to get into Hobby Lobby. So let me go ahead and share that. Share screen. Okay. All right. Can y'all see it? And it's very flattering still of me. Okay. In approximately 1778, the British Captain Cook did what the colonizers of the day did, explored around, got lost, and discovered Hawaii, New Zealand. Friendly at first, Captain Cook told everyone in Europe that he had found a new paradise. However, as you know, is on par for the task, his friendly nature then changed quickly and he decided that he was going to try and detain a Hawaiian chief, to which he was murdered in 1779. I mean, karma comes quick. Now, in keeping with the Manifest Destiny theme that we talked about in the last episode, America set its sights on Hawaii. America's first line of defense was to send the missionaries. Yes, we should probably talk about the fact that religion has been used historically to deprive Native people of their land, civilize Native people, and overall just kind of ruin everything. Over 100 friendly American missionaries were sent to Hawaii. You know their mandate: civilize, colonize, steal culture, right. Blah, blah, blah. It's really good. I was like, why is it so good? So yeah, so that's my Patreon. The reason why I'm bringing it up, to be honest, when I hit 100 patrons on Patreon, I'm finally going to be able to get a camera. So that's my big motivator behind Patreon. Also being able to provide information in a troll-free zone. It's lovely. It's great. Highly recommend. So if you'd like to, go ahead and join my Patreon. It's just Wine and Chill at Patreon. So, and it's in the bio too, in the description. All right. So let's get into Hobby Lobby. Because when I was reading this, I don't know if it was just me, but I was not aware that Hobby Lobby was out here building museums. Was not aware in the least. Okay. So am I here? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dan. Listen, quote unquote civilized people are awful, which we have talked about. So at this point on Patreon, just so you guys know like what's on there, we've done Belgium, and Belgium has gotten away with the largest genocide that is in human history, which is the killing of 13 million Congolese people. Yes, awful. And we've done 2 parts for America, and next we're going to do France. Because the French like to think that they're nice racists and that their version of colonization and slavery was nice, which that's not possible, but that's also something that we'll get into, which is going to be interesting. So, yes. All right, so let's do Hobby Lobby. Okay, so if you're not familiar with who this is Mr. Green of Hobby Lobby, one of the owners of Hobby Lobby. He is a billionaire. The Green family are billionaires. If you're not familiar with Hobby Lobby is basically the Chick-fil-A of craft stores. And I would like to thank Gabriel for that witty quote when I brought up Hobby Lobby to him. And so Hobby Lobby most famously a few years ago sued and made it all the way to the Supreme Court, in which they said they did not want to give their employees access to contraception. And as their employer, they didn't have to give their employees access to contraception. Thank you, Erica, for joining my Patreon. And also our Discord is very fun. We have Discord. So, and they won. The Supreme Court said, yes, as an employer, you don't have to give people access to contraception. Which most of these people are pro-birth and not pro-life. It don't make no damn sense. But anyways, that's Hobby Lobby's claim to legal fame. Claim to legal fame. My words are great today. And also their other claim for what they're doing with their money is building a huge Bible museum in DC. And by huge, I mean it literally costs hundreds of millions of dollars. This Bible museum. Wild. Completely wild. And there's a small problem with this Bible museum. The problem being that a lot of the things in this Bible museum may or may not have been looted, stolen, and do not have proper claim of title. So they get busted by the feds on a regular basis, including today. They had a new ruling. All right. Let's go. So then we'll go past that. So this is what popped up today. So this ancient Gilgamesh tablet, if you guys remember Gilgamesh from way back when, learned about in school, also in the Bible, was seized from Hobby Lobby by U.S. authorities. Yes. So the court ruled, the New York court ruled that it was actually smuggled into the U.S. And that maybe Hobby Lobby didn't know, but they have to give it back to Iraq, the country that rightfully owns it. Now, this is just one thing, right? Just, okay, maybe the Greens were a little bit green, right? When getting their artifacts. They weren't aware that, it came from other places. It had been resold a bunch of times. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things. In 2015, the Green family was investigated for importing looted clay tablets from Israel, which were shipped in 2011 to Oklahoma City, where Hobby Lobby's headquartered. With plans to be displayed at the museum when it opened, the shipment was labeled as tile samples. They labeled these priceless artifacts as tile samples that were $300. So then, when confronted about it by the Popo, the Greens said, this is a clerical error. Who is believing that this is a clerical error? But okay, the Department of Justice has different rules for different people, as does our whole justice system. They said, all right, pay this fine, of $3 million. Hobby Lobby, in that instance, returned more than 5,000 smuggled artifacts. It's not one thing. It's 5,000 things. It then proceeds to get worse. That's not the only thing in there that is of questionable provenance, as they like to say in the art world, which I learned questionable provenance just means teeth in. All right, so the next one. This is papyrus from Egypt. The Museum of the Bible must once again return artifacts, this time an entire warehouse of 5,000 Egyptian artifacts. Now, sir, you can't be that silly to be like, who are you buying these things from? Who are you buying these things from? A warehouse. This is not like, oh, I just had a few things, you know, like I didn't know, like I just started art collecting. Like I am a new rich person. I'm nuevo rich. I'm trying to keep up. They built a museum. The museum is there. A museum about the Bible that I'd be very curious to go into the museum and see if there's Black Jesus. I'm always curious about this because evangelical Christians never want to accept the truth of Jesus, which makes me laugh. 5,000 things, to which I will give them. They have very good PR. When confronted, Stephen Green, who runs the museum, said, you know what? This is not the museum's fault. This is my fault. I was a new art collector. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to go about things. So the museum should not be blamed. I should not be blamed. I should be blamed, which he took full responsibility. But sir, how many things in the museum are sitting in there that don't belong in the museum? Which brings to the point, somebody said the British Museum, hell, the Met, I love the Met, by the way. It's one of my favorite museums. However, there's also the guilt of half these things don't belong in here. The Met has a section now that literally, it's funny, but it's not funny, that literally says, the backgrounds of the donors, like these people are long dead. Their family is alive, but the background of the donors. And one of the sections said that this certain donor was known to do illegal excavations and basically steal things. Basically just steal things. Listen, Kendra, and I refuse, you know, that's what they always say. And I'm like, that's not correct. Like it says in the Bible. Like, this is not, you know what? But I'm finna argue with them. Yes, it says it in the Met. I forgot what the exhibit was. I was like looking at it like a few months ago. I like go every once in a while. And I was like, so you know that this is questionable, yet you didn't give it back. You think it's okay for it to just sit in here. Most of these museums, if not all, let's be honest, majority, at least 90% of these museums are housing stolen goods from the Middle East, from Africa, from Asia. All of these colonizing countries, are housing stolen goods. If they're not from your country, you didn't buy it from another colonizer, it's stolen. Exactly. But they are trying to bring culture to people, and like, you don't think the people whose actual culture you teach don't deserve culture? I always have questions. By the way, the best museum I've ever been into, which this is like very random and off topic, is in New Orleans. It's I have to look up the name of it. I think it's like the museum. I think it's called like the Museum of the Mardi Gras Indian, which is like a very specific New Orleans like Mardi Gras tradition where they dress up in like these beautiful dresses, headdresses and beautiful outfits. And this man, it's like in his house, like what used to be his house. It's tiny, but he has literally like almost 100, if not more, of these costumes, and they all contain over like 300,000 beads on them. It's amazing. That is a good museum. These museums, teaching people stuff is awful. It's just awful. And half the time they don't even attribute it to the right place. All right. So let me see if I had anything else. Oh, that was the last one. So let me go ahead and read through some of these comments. All right. So England sacked Benin in Nigeria, destroyed the bronze tunnels, but I get top walk into the British museums and the shit they stole. They think people don't know, which I find to be like the most offensive. Like, you need to give it back. Or I've seen some museums where they argue, well, it's been here all this time and it's better served here. You don't have the facilities. Which Colonizer Exposed, the series we're doing on Patreon, highly recommend, is talking about how basically all of these colonizing countries have profited off of Africa. We haven't gone into Asia yet. We're going to go into Asia because they colonize each other. And that's the only reason why they're rich. The DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, has one of the lowest GDPs in the world. However, is actually the richest in terms of natural resources. Belgium is doing well. But what does Belgium export? What was it? It's nothing. Belgium, all these years, has robbed the DRC, ruined the DRC, and now everything is glittered in gold. Are we not going to right-size this as a society? All right. Oh, shout out to FAMU. So from New Nubian, my university FAMU has a museum with all of our history and artifacts, including items from Jim Crow and KKK times. I think that's great because you know what I find very much so is that the U.S. wants to wash over that period of history. That's still continuing. So I think that that's great that FAMU is like, to hell if you do. All right. All right. Exactly. You owe them facilities. England and France specifically would not be as rich if it did not control 14 countries and their actual monetary value. But that's a talk for Patreon, child. Exactly. And everybody will say that it's in the past. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I guess let's do like one call. Let's do some calls really quick and then I'll let y'all go. Yeah, I'm very interested in, I'm like a weird, like super history nerd and particularly like about colonization and all of that. So I think like it's more people need to talk about it. More people need like the education around it, to be honest. Because speaking for the American school system, child, is full of nonsense. Is whitewashed. It's not accurate half the time. Like, I'm very curious to see come 10 years from now, when this is, knock on wood, 15 years from now, God willing, if I have kids in their history book, like what their teacher is about to tell them happened on January 6th. Because if it's not accurate, I will go to their class. If I don't hear people were scaling the walls of the Capitol building, people died, mofos brought guns in there, they were screaming the N-word at Black police officers, I'm like, that's not correct. That's not correct. All right. Hey, Jace. Let me fix
What's
it.
up?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm in a great mood today. So.
Lovely. How was your moderating job? It seemed very civil today.
I had to ban one person and like when he came in, because I'm assuming it's a dude because it's always men.
The humor, I would say the internet hat goes to the men's. The cishet men's get the internet hat.
But the second he came in, I was just like, oh, you're going to be a problem. But he didn't say nothing when he came in. He was just like greeting kings and queens. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm keeping an eye on you. And then as soon as he started pushing that foolish anti-vax mess, I was just like,
oh, no, we're not doing that, Charles. Stay inside. People are dirty.
Yes and yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, Kevin has a question. What do you think about Jamaica demanding the Queen for reparations? Jamaicans deserve it. Yes, of course. Jamaica built England. England was built by Jamaicans. The Windrush Jamaicans and the ones and all of us shucking sugarcane all these years. But Kelly brought up a good point, which I need to like go through all those articles. Liz is still the queen of Jamaica. Jamaica's in the Commonwealth. So if we're going to be honest, is that going to happen? No. Like, first of all, we need to get rid of Elizabeth. I think that's the only way that we're going to actually get reparations. But yes, without Windrush, Britain would have crumbled. Like, they need to stop with the nonsense. But
Foolishness.
Yes, foolishness. But yes, Jace, how are you? So I'm glad that they're finally doing the sort out your house. Sorry, always hit. I'm glad that they're doing the hearing, but I feel like it's too little, too late. Like, I don't think enough people care. You know.
Nope.
What do you think, Jace?
I agree with you. Well, number one, I just want to go back to that statement that I think you said his name was Harry, made, and
oh yes, the police officer. Let me pull up this picture.
I wasn't laughing, but I was just like, really? Because people don't even consider Florida the South, but I surely see enough Confederate flags to consider it the South.
Every Miamian who lived in Florida, because child will never be a Floridian. Florida is of the mind that they are in. There's that huge one, like on the I-4, that huge Confederate flag. That's probably like the size of my apartment.
Oh yes, I know what. Oh my god, I know what you're talking about.
It's so big. It's so obnoxious. Also, like if we're talking about a history lesson, Florida was not in the Confederacy, y'all. But you know, you can't tell Florida rednecks that, so that's not my business. That's really not my business.
I just like, are you serious? Like, because I was called that word. The first time I was ever called that word was when I was 6 years old. I was on my way to the bus stop with my little brother, and some guy in a truck leaned out the window calling us "you dirty ends." And the worst part about it was that I recognized the truck, and it was the truck of the grandfather of one of my older sister's friends.
Wow. Which is what I think that's also a good point to bring up, that people think like it's just older people doing these things. No, it's not. There's plenty of young people that were in the insurrection. But also, do you think that people that are socialized to violence and socialized to racism just magically don't end up that way?
Exactly. Like, it makes no sense. Like,
just because you have one black friend, that's not really gonna all of a sudden make you like, oh yeah, I'm kind to all black people. I had a similar situation like when I was, how old are you in the second grade? In the second grade, I had this friend, lovely friend. Like what are you, like 7? Like we don't have any sense. Young white girl who her dad, like we went to a private school. My mom worked at the private school. You don't pay tuition. She was like a preschool teacher, and her dad was the janitor. Don't pay tuition. And I remember one day, I don't even know why it came up. Like her dad, like I loved her dad. I thought he was basically like to me, a white version of my dad. Was like a middle-aged man, big, huge beer belly. I was like, oh, it's like my dad, like whatever. Lovely man. And I remember one day she was like, my dad doesn't like black people, but he loves you. And I was very confused. I was like, but I'm a black people? What does that mean? I was like, what? I'm confused.
The cognitive dissonance that these people have, it's just like, so the history of this country is mired in white supremacy. Like what I was about to say earlier was that the US government is a white supremacist organization.
Yeah. Yes.
But our history is mired in white supremacist BS. Slavery was one of the biggest industries in this country. Half the country tried to leave because they were scared that the government was going to take their slaves away. But you think that all of that just went away because MLK got up on a stage and said, I have a dream.
Stop. Which, I can't. I cannot. I cannot.
By the way,
people don't live in reality. And I also think like they don't live in reality. And then I think it's also like to talk about like what it is as a child to realize that you're a palatable black person and like what it is to be like, oh, well, I guess I'm like, okay, then. And then to realize like, that's wrong. It's wrong. Black is black is black is black.
It is wrong. Like you said, we're all black. And while I don't really like that argument being used, you know, when certain facets of the diaspora are coming after other facets of the diaspora rightly, but we are all black people. And the thing about being a palatable black person is you might be palatable, you might be one of the good ones, but you're still on their shit list. All you just have to show.
You can't be a good person. Like you're dealing with people who don't see you as a person. They see you as like, oh, you're like this object to me and like whatever. Like it doesn't make any sense.
No,
It doesn't make any sense. And it's very strange, like for a child said to another child, which I think it's important for people to realize. People are not just all of a sudden, you just a racist. People are socialized from when they're small children. Like they see what their parents do. Like he had to have said something around her for her at 7 years old to say it to her friend. It's not like she came to this conclusion on her own.
Exactly. Like, if I can tease out from the way that my parents act around white people that you mind your P's and Q's, like, it's like, what's crazy to me is that so many, like, let me get my thoughts in order here.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy to me is that Black people are far more intelligent than we are allowed to claim that we are, because from a young age, we are learning these very complex concepts. I mean, we don't know we're learning them, but we're learning code switching. We're learning, mind your P's and Q's around certain white people. You're learning the whole palatable blackness thing. Like, as children, we are taking in these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my parents never talked to me about this type of stuff, but I still knew that whenever I was around white people, I minded my P's and Q's. I didn't even know that, Ave was a thing when I was a child, but I knew, when you go to church, you don't be talking like this. It's, hi, thank you. Like, you don't talk like that around in that area. Whenever you go to school and you have all these white people around you, you don't talk like that. And so it's just like, it's crazy to me, because it's like, if we're learning all of these things from a young age as a child, what are white kids learning?
That, like, what the social cues you learn. And to Tiffany's point, thank you, Tiffany. I misspoke. Florida did secede, I would say that word wrong, from the Union in January 1861. So yes, I guess it was part of the Confederacy, child. Even though I do think it's interesting that Southern people don't consider Florida the South. Florida is very much in their mind the South. But yes, thank you, Tiffany. And I think that's the point that people don't realize, and kind of what people, there has to be more than performative. Like, I took my kids to the protest. Okay, you took your kids to the protests because let follow the sentence. It took you, say most parents now are a little bit older, 35 years, most likely, to go to a protest for a marginalized group of people that you don't really interact with, because America is actually very segregated. A panorama came. You could not go outside for a year. Your one chance to go outside was to go to a protest and do the right thing. And then you took your kid to the protest. Okay. So your child realized and now thinks that protests are fun things to go to, and that if they walk and they talk with their whiteness, then things change and Black people are happy. What has happened since 1 year later?
Absolutely nothing. And
it's how we walk on the street too. I was reading this article that said Black people get bumped into on the street because white people don't move, and they assume that we are going to move all the time. And like, it challenged, and I saw somebody put on Instagram as well, and they challenged that as a Black person, try just walking and not moving, see what happens. And I tried it one day and I realized, like, oh shit, people are not moving. Like, so now I really don't move. And like, I've gotten like smacked a few times, but the more you do it, the more empowered you are, because like, why? Like, we're conditioned that, oh, like, we have to move. We have to step on the sidewalk, because we literally used to have to step on the sidewalk. It's a learned social behavior.
Exactly. But more to my point, what I was saying earlier, it's just like, it's just crazy to me that we still have Black people, grown Black people. Like, I don't know how old this guy was, but it sounds like he was, middle-aged, somewhere around that. But like, grown Black people who think these things, they think that, if they do everything right and they put the uniform on, and like,
yeah.
As much as I find this unbelievable, I do think that we do need to give these people grace, because a lot of that isn't just, if you do the right things as a Black person, it's generally speaking. Like, if you do everything right in life, like you make good grades, you go to college, you get a good job, blah, blah, blah. Just for Black people, on top of that, it's, if you're one of the good Blacks, then you should be fine.
Yeah.
So I do think that we should give them grace, but at the same time, it's just,
Yeah, it's political correctness. Like, I give him full, but it was interesting. I agree. And thank you, Tashana, for joining Patreon. I completely agree, because it's interesting when you hear that. It's like, oh, like complete empathy, like someone's yelling the N-word at you. But it was interesting the context of when he said, oh, if I have this on, then no one says anything to me. But also there's the aspect of, well, at what point can like a Black person be safe? So like, I get it. I was talking to Chelsea about this earlier, in that the majority of Black people in this country are poor, which we have talked about. But the majority of people that are actually making Black content are upper middle class and just straight up rich Black people. So that completely isolates, poor Black people, because most likely it's very hard. 1 in 10, if you live in the poverty line, if you're Black, actually goes to college. So with that being said, having been grown up where I grew up, most of my friends, a lot of those people end up in the military or in the police. That's how you get a good job without going to college. And there's a lot of, I would say, judgment towards that without looking at the why. And I think he proved that as well. What else was I going to, I'm doing, I don't know if he went to college. I'm not saying he didn't, but, I'm doing my job. I'm doing something for society. I'm trying to be a good person. Why are people now yelling the N-word at me?
Right. And that's why I said we do need to give them grace, because the same way that a lot of these things that we do are learned behaviors, that's a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. But also it's just why, in general, but specifically as Black people, why do we have to do these very specific things, fill these very specific roles, present ourselves in a very specific way to white people in order to convince them to leave us alone?
Yeah.
To
not you yelling in the microphone.
Sorry.
I'm trying to find that article I was telling you guys about. But it's very true. And that's what we don't talk about. We talk about we got to get to equality. We got to get to change. We got to get to, we're going to get to kumbaya. What about just being left alone?
Honestly.
What about so someone left a comment on Amanda Seal's post. She was making posts there's a new trend going on where people are admitting that they're not bathing, and you know what, it makes me itch. I'm not going to talk about it. It's gross.
Every year
I don't know why. I'm this is why we're in a panorama. Please bathe yourself. Stop this. And please wash your hands. However, she made a post about it, and it was particularly a certain demographic of people is not bathing. And y'all know who, so I'm not even out there this child, whatever. Anyways, and no, it's not going to do with poverty. They have the money. They just don't want to bathe. Anyways, so she made a joke about it. She's a comedian. Somebody sent her some upset DM, some Karen. Why, this is not helping race relations, blah, 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 by you saying these things. To which she said, F your race relations. I want freedom for Black people. Which I think, I was yes, tell them please, because I don't give a damn. Yes, kumbaya will be nice eventually, but do y'all know how tiring it is to be a Black person in America? And this is coming from a light-skinned, 3C hair, lawyer, privileged as Black woman saying this to you. Privileged, child. Privilege saying this to you. Do you know how tiring it is? You know how tiring it is to go into work and be microaggressed? Do you know how tiring it is? Do you know how tiring it is having grown up in Miami? Do you know how tiring it is to live in Liberty City? Do y'all know? I have family members that live there. I've never lived there. I think most people cannot wrap their way around how a Black person operates in America. It is tiring. So don't nobody give a damn about race relations. Don't nobody give a damn about people's D&I projects at work to kumbaya. Oh, I think the allies should get allowed in the ERGs. Don't no sensible Black person give a damn. Respectfully.
I mean, quite honestly, disrespectfully at this point.
It's talk about this.
It's 2021. It's 2021. Right now, it's disrespectfully. It's disrespectfully now. It's been disrespectfully for ages for me, but specifically now, it's disrespectfully. And especially last year, it's just it was still so crazy to me last year. Like when George Floyd was murdered, he did not sacrifice his life. He was murdered.
Oh my God, Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to talk about her later, but she also said that JoJo cannot grant us student loan forgiveness, so that's dead in the water now. But anyways, I don't understand that woman. I've been crazy to Nancy Pelosi since she wore the damn fake kente cloth.
Oh my God!
Are we going to talk about that?
I would rather we didn't, to be honest.
Okay, because I might pull up the picture. But continue.
But it's crazy to me. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like, we're all stressed out about this killer super virus that literally every day we're learning new things about the whack to do things that it does to your body. Like, I remember reading an article about how the coronavirus practically weaponizes our immune system against us. Like, it creates this thing, like in certain people, it creates this thing called cytokine storm, which is basically, it's like...
Oh, hold on. We're going to really get demonetized. We talk about this.
I'm sorry, but the best way I can describe it is, for all my millennial people, those of you who watched Fairly Odd Parents, you know Jorgen von Strangle, where he's just like, scramble the fairies. It's basically that, but like inside your body. Like literally your immune system just starts attacking everything. And then there's evidence to suggest that it can damage your brain and all these different types of things. And then outside of that, like even if you walk away not getting any of that happening to you, you are still pretty much crippled because so many people are walking away from this virus with asthma, with permanent respiratory issues.
Yeah, they're walking away. That actually, okay, so fine. We're already demonetized at this point. It's fine, y'all. That's something that we were, I was watching this TikTok. I have to find it. I owe you guys some links. I have to find it. But it was this Black disability advocate basically saying that people think that they're going to walk away from getting this, like, which some people will. Let's be honest. I'm not trying to give y'all medical advice, but the other side of it is some people will have disabilities, and America does not care about people with disabilities, which I think we have seen numerous times, and that is something most people are not prepared to deal with. So that's what I'm going to say about that, because I just want to also take this moment to show, yes, Miss Pelosi and this damn kente cloth. Let's not forget about that, because the same people that have NAACP memberships for 20 years are attending insurrections, and the same people say they care about Black people, but George Floyd was a sacrifice, are wearing kente cloth. And that's all I have to say about that. So that's that. On that note, my computer is dying.
Well,
so yes, thank you for calling in, Jace.
Thank you for letting me.
And thank you for moderating. Thank you for moderating and making sure that nobody acted a fool.
No problem. I love it. I love to do it.
All right. So I'll catch you later, boo.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So yes, that's Nancy, because this image lives rent free in my head. So yes. So to ACO 420's point, some Americans acting like they have proper free healthcare. We do not. We do not, which is why I feel aggressed that my employer wants to send me to the office with people that we know do not wash their hands. Like, what? No, I will not go. I'm good. So on that note, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for this. I think I might chop it up because I've been leaving. Oh, Liberated Life is calling. All right, we're going to take one more call. All right, one more. Oh, actually, all right, well, this will be short anyway because I only got 4%. Forgot to charge my computer. Hello, how are you?
Hey, hey.
How are you doing?
Good. I just had to call in. I know you say you only have 4%, but I haven't seen you in a while, and I haven't ever called in. So
you never have. I was like, oh wait, we'll stay. It will just die. It's fine. when we get to 1, I'll boot you. It'll be fine.
No worries. But yeah, I mean, I found it really interesting what you guys were talking about. Well, I caught a couple things in and out, but just the last thing with Nancy and all the I saw somebody saying $600 is fine, and it's just so funny. I was just talking about how much money makes a difference. Like some one of my friends was saying, some celebrity said, I wish it was cool to go to therapy, and we both responded like, we wish it was free to go to therapy. Like, everybody's talking about all this stuff and nobody's talking about the resources to get to it, you know.
It's expensive. And if you're a Black woman, you want a Black woman therapist. My therapist used to be covered, great, affordable. No coverage now, out of network, $175.
Wow. That's crazy. And then you look at someone like Simone Biles. I don't know if you guys talked about her earlier, but you know, upwardly mobile, you know, internationally world-renowned Black woman who has, you know, the money to get healthcare. And it's still, like you're saying, just the reality of being a Black person in America is taxing mentally, physically, everything. And you see, you know, we step out of the picture, you get second place now, so don't get ahead of yourselves. But hopefully, you know, that type of, I think it's a Gen Z spirit of like, you know, we just got to step out of it. They're just willing to like take the L. So
yeah,
hopefully this new wave of like everybody kind of seeing that nobody is really on the side of like the working people, like the politicians one way or the other, that everybody will be willing to divest a little bit more so we can, you know, have some more leverage, you know?
Yeah, I agree. What's crazy to me is that, you know, because we were talking about poor white people earlier, we would get there if somebody would convince poor white people that they're actually poor.
Tell the truth, because you're talking about
they're running around like we're running around together poor, but one of us is aware and one of us is not.
Right. And it's funny you're talking about Rouses. I used to live in Louisiana. I had no idea that it was, you know, I never even think about, like you're saying, the legacy of people's names and stuff. And, you know, I'm pretty sure the Rouses, if they have money to be opening up grocery stores in Louisiana, have some, you know, strong ties, you know.
Talk about it, because you know what's crazy? I was talking to Kelly. So Kelly's Blood Honey on here. And she's lovely and she's British. And in Britain, they've been doing basically protests. One of their members of parliament is from a family of enslavers, like literal descendant, is also notorious racist. And so basically they know which plantations in Jamaica and Barbados, child, I need to go look up my family name. That, and I'm like, why in America, like we don't, like it's a hidden secret, like we're not gonna talk about it. They're still like, they're probably sitting there in school with us, like, they know.
I mean, they're sitting next to, you know, what's his name? Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. They have probably the same legacy as you know, any other person on the other side. So I'm not surprised. You know, the ultimate interest, like you said, if we could unite the working poor, this, you know, working people, regular folk, we might be getting somewhere, but we'll see. Hopefully we all get together first.
I hope so. I hope we as Black people can get together, and then I guess we'll rope them in.
We will, but I want to say thank you so much, because a part of us getting together is what you're doing. Like, you know, it's a lot of us that have these ideas and have the, you know, that think this way, but don't necessarily have the courage or the time or the whatever to do it. And this space that you've created is really important, and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you. Because, you know, girl, you're doing some real work, for real. You are.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
No, Steffi.
I won't get emotional. I'll be over here. I do want some crawfish now, though. Now that we're talking about Louisiana, I'm like, damn, it's been a minute.
You should go soon.
I know. I used to go like every year. The Panorama ruined it. I was there not that long. I was there last year, but I didn't like stay that long because like pandemic time. But I need to go again.
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving back there. Just economically, it's a lot more. From DC, between DC and Louisiana, you know, just making something stretch. Louisiana would be the move.
I love Louisiana. It's nice. The people are nice. I like the culture. I just want a beach. That's the only reason I'm thinking about Miami. I'm like, damn, the beach in Louisiana, like, is not in Louisiana, it's in Alabama. And I'm like, I don't have the bravery for that.
True. Yeah, no. And too, in Miami, you could get a little bit more of a luxurious life. Like New Orleans or Louisiana in general is not going to be, you know, as cute as you are.
No. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. Well, I'm on 2%, so I'll let you go before I don't want to cut off on you.
All right, no problem. Well, you have a good rest of your night.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate y'all, and this means a lot to me, to be honest. It's like I'm glad we're all here together, to be honest. I've been wanting a space, so I'm glad that we can provide that. And if y'all ever want to call in and you want to talk about specific things, we can talk about it. I see Shemaya wants to talk about Simone Biles. So I think Simone is similar to like when we talk about Naomi Osaka. So maybe we'll talk about that next time as well. Specifically talk about the backlash, Piers Morgan's silly self. We could talk about that as well, because people wanted to be upset that somebody else wanted to choose themselves over them, which is silly. Very silly. Shout out to Simone. Good for her. And I hope she, gets better soon. So yeah. So on that note, I'll let y'all go. And I'll probably chop this video up so that way they're like in short parts, but I'll leave the long live. So that way, if you didn't catch it at the beginning, then thank you, Jace. Thank you. What Jay said. So if you didn't catch it in the beginning, I'll just chop it up so you can see the different parts that you're interested in. So, all right. So this is going to die. But so to a useless sausage casing, I do not disagree. It's probably very unseasoned. So I will catch y'all next week. And I owe you a video, so I'll see y'all before then. Okay. Bye.